G'day, I'm Paul Skelton and welcome back to Fit Sets. I'd like to introduce my lovely wife Maya. So Maya is a learn to swim teacher. So she teaches adults and juniors and has been doing for quite a few years. She's loads of experience. She's also a learn to swim presenter and assessor. So yeah, the experience is there. And quite often we have discussions about swimming, ways of teaching and coaching. And the other day she posed me quite a challenging question.
Yeah, so I actually asked Paul what his thoughts were. What his thoughts were when it comes to the top three things that are stopping swimmers progressing to a more efficient stroke. So yeah, I wanted to know what his thoughts were.
So it's quite a challenging question, as there's so many aspects to swimming that we teach while we're coaching, and breaking it down to three was gave it some focus. And what it came down to is actually three elements in swimming that probably form 90% of the problem of progressing. And yeah, I'm hoping you actually find this session quite interesting, because you solve these three problems, you're going to be a good swimmer. And then it's about refinement and the smaller pieces around it. So I've got a few slides to show and a demonstration, but tune in and maybe get a cup of tea, because we go through the detail, and I hope you enjoy this.
Yeah, great.
Upright habits, and it's about the mental shift and that muscle memory of what we're used to doing in upright through walking, running, etc., and transferring to swimming, which is different. It is about muscle memory. It's what we've taught ourselves that when we move, the things we do, we transfer those into swimming, which it doesn't actually fit and doesn't actually really help us. It holds us back. First one being looking forward. If we walk down a pavement and closed our eyes for 20 paces, we find it really uncomfortable. When I put this person in a pool, that's what I'm asking them to do. I'm asking them to relax their neck, keep their eyes focused on the bottom of the pool, and not look forward all the time. And people find that really uncomfortable, and it's we need to help people get comfortable with that, and only glance up occasionally to see where they are or where they were going. So that's one shift that needs to occur. The other one is timing, but there's no pause in the leading arm. When we walk and run, both legs are moving at the same time, and none of them really pause. It's a rotation. One's moving back, and the other one's moving forward, and then we switch. Swimming, we need to have one arm in front all the time. So one arm pauses, holds that streamlined position in front of us, while the other one does the work, and then we switch to the other arm. But there's a big pause to that one arm. It's a big shift. A lot of when people come to the pool for the first time, they're not used to swimming. It's a difficult thing to do. It's muscle memory. It's a mental shift that they're just not used to. It's a paradigm. That's a massive change.
Okay.
The third one is the pushing down. We tend to push down with the water with our arms at the beginning. We're not really anchoring our hand. And I'll go through that in a couple of slides to demonstrate it. But effectively, what most new swimmers do is at the beginning of the stroke, they push down on the water, and the focus is just moving the hand through the water, rather than creating, getting that hand and forearm down, anchoring it, and then moving the body past it. That's a significant one for speed.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people can resonate with that, because when you're learning, whatever age you are, when you're learning, you putting your arm in that position of pushing down effect, because you're just getting into the pattern of learning to get the movement going. But now what we want to do is find, okay, how can we be a little bit more efficient? How can we progress from there?
Correct. The first two are more about balance and streamlining and optimizing that. The third one is around actually generating speed through the water and propulsion. And on that pushing down, the reason people really battle with it is the position you have to get your arm into is unnatural. There's no reason to put your arm in that position when you're above land. when we're lifting things, pushing things, pulling things, that position is actually foreign. So we wouldn't have that muscle memory to do that action. It's not there. It's not in our brain. And as adults, we find it really difficult to actually adopt that position.
And I think how some coaches, when they're speaking to young swimmers who are in junior squads, show them that, where we put their hands on the side of the pool and then push down, at least we can get through to them in that way, for that example. But with adults, especially adults who don't understand that concept, it's
very difficult to adopt unless you really focus it and have ways of actually transferring or adopting that muscle memory, and then building up the muscle to actually support it as well, which is the second piece.
And we've created habits over the years of just monotonously just moving those arms over and over in circles. Yeah.
So what I'll go through a couple of slides just of a good swimmer and showing the positions of their arms and the head, etc. And then we'll move on and I'll demonstrate what you can do on dry land to support that. There's a lot of videos out there around using stretches and things like that. But I thought I'd just tap in and look at these three features of the swim and see how you can actually adopt that on dry land. And in actual fact, I get my swimmers before COVID and before this lockdown to do these things and do the dry land drills before they get in the pool to reinforce that mental shift, that new muscle memory without the pressure of doing it in the pool. So a really important feature of our program, the actions and the building up the muscle memory to do the right actions is fundamental.
All right,
you can't just swim and swim.
Let's go through those slides.
The first slide is just a competent swimmer here, obviously built up all the right muscle memory, etc. First thing you can actually see is where his eyes are facing, and you can see the alignment through his shoulders, through his neck, through to his head. Nicely aligned, relaxed, no crinkles on his back of his neck. That's a really important feature. As soon as you lift that head, his hips are going to sink, feet are going to sink, he's going to struggle. Right. Next, you can see that he's holding, his catch starts when his alternate hand starts entering the water. You can actually see his hand entering the water. This arm is just beginning to catch the water. It's beginning to actually move into position to grab the water.
And the catch part of the stroke is very important, yeah?
The catch is probably the most important part of the stroke. It sets up the action for the rest of the stroke. So if you get the catch wrong, you're going to be pushing down on the water. So he's almost thinking there about pushing the water back, but it's only starting when that other hand enters the water, probably opposite his elbow. Right, so that's all about timing. Then we can see he moves into that next position. And what you can see is that's what I call this unnatural to most dry land people. That forearm is facing down the bottom of the pool. And what we'll see is actually his forearm and hand are really focused on pushing water back rather than down. Now, what you'll find is if your hand was straight in front of you and you're not pivoting that elbow, you'll be pushing the water down. You can't articulate the elbow. So that's a really important feature of good strong propulsion. You can see his other hand is still in that front position, his head is still down. Next slide, it just shows you that elbow. Particularly there, a lot of people seem to want to align their arm underneath their body. And that way they can't articulate, they can't get that elbow facing the back of the pool.
And that strength feels very strange when you're trying to educate the brain into that different pattern. Yeah.
I remember in the old days, the real focus on streamline, swim through the eye of the needle, stay narrow, which really got people to actually keep their arms narrow right through the stroke. Width is good when we actually create propulsion. It actually feels odd because it feels quite shallow, that hand. It's just below the alignment of the body. We seem to want to go deep for power, and it's not where the power is. The power comes from facing that forearm and the hand to the back of the pool and moving the water back, moving past it. What we call it anchoring. So what we're trying to do, if we look at the next slide, is once we actually get that hand down, we think of it as an anchor and then move the body past it. So we're not focused on just trying to generate as much movement of water by moving it through the water. we actually want to anchor that hand, get the hand down, right, and then move the body past it, which generates the right action.
I do like that, as you put that, the anchor. Yeah.
But you can see here again that, you know, that forearm and hand is facing the back of the pool. It is not generating a huge arc of rotation around the shoulder, which is pushing you up initially and then down at the back end, and only about 30 centimeters of true propulsion towards the back of the pool.
Yeah.
Next slide is just finishing the stroke. You can see that forearm, the other arm is still facing forward, eye still facing down, and it's just pulling that hand up to next to the thigh. It's almost like getting into that jeans and pocket position. Right. Just walking through these, so these are the slides all together. What we can see is the hand entering the water in the top slide. Right. As it enters, the other arm starts moving. You can see his left hand replaces the other hand at the front, so he's always got an arm out in front of him for the whole stroke. Right. Now, long in the water is fast. Right. As soon as you shorten, if we move the arm too far, we become very short in the water, short is slow. So this creates streamlining and creates balance as well. It keeps weight forward, so it keeps the hips up. As you can see, as he progresses through the stroke, the other arm is out in front of him the whole time. Right, moving through the stroke. If we move to the left-hand picture at the bottom, you can see this other arm only starts moving when the arm is just used, starts entering the water. Right. So it's called front quadrant swimming, where we've got an arm in the water in front of us all the time. Right. Nice and long in the water. And again, the top right hand side just demonstrates that width that we create when we to get propulsion. One more thing I just want to show you is look at the hips. Right. He's not going 90 degrees, he's just getting that belly button to face the other side of the black line. Yeah, it's like we call it 5, 7 o'clock. Yeah, that belly button.
It's that rotation. Yeah.
As it moves through the stroke, there about middle of the stroke, he's flat in the water, but as he gets to the back end of the stroke, the hips are actually pointing to the right hand side of the black line, to the 7 o'clock position. And so that power of the body moving left and right generates a lot of power. It's not just the arm muscle he's using the whole torso muscle to power the stroke. So that's it in terms of the breakdown. So again, focusing on those three things that we really battle with novice swimmers. Head down, not looking forward all the time, so which keeps the hips up and the feet up and keeps you streamlined. Two, the timing of holding that one arm in front of you at all times, and getting used to that switch and pausing that that arm in front and holding it while the other arm does the work.
So
and
Paul,
three is that, really pushing, anchoring that arm in the water and moving past it. That forearm facing the back of the pool as much as possible.
So Paul, when they're doing all these and we're correcting all these, are they doing these up and down, up and down, up and down the pool, or how would they be? I mean, you've given as an example with the land drill of what we could do, but when they do take that aspect, that skill into the water, would they be doing it constantly up and down? How would you put that in?
A true novice swimmer who comes to me who really can't battling with swimming, relatively new to swimming, or that's never really cracked the code, I'd really stop them from swimming the squad style length after length, trying to fix things. I'd actually get them to do 25 meters at a time, sometimes less, to actually build that pattern into their stroke. And I'd also recommend a lot of dry land stuff to actually build that muscle memory for the timing, so they're not doing it while they're fighting the water and while they're having all the different battles of breathing and balance and survival. Try to get that pattern bit down. Now, I get a lot of quite advanced swimmers, particularly triathletes who've been actually training for 2-3 years in various environments, a lot of solo work in pool, that have these bad habits. For those people, they can swim long distance, but I'll tend to bring them right back to doing 50 meters, 100 meters at a time, 4 focus periods. So one session a week, purely on technique. The other sessions, never pushing them past their ability in terms of holding stroke.
Right. Yeah, and that's important.
Yeah, I've got a couple of good examples, that we've had over the last couple of years. Mel came to me. He couldn't swim 50 meters. He had no idea about swimming. Never really learned to swim through his years. Mid-40s, and we just took it back to basics. Taught him about balance. Taught him about timing first. Didn't rush him. Got him to do the basic work around balance, catch, etc. He's now, a little over the year, he's knocking out really great times. He'll be probably an hour or sub-hour in an Ironman, 3.8k swim. He's swimming 2k's down at Sutton with no effort at all. He does it like a Saturday morning walk. Danielle is another example. Couldn't swim 50 meters. And now it's knocking out triathlons and totally confident in the water, and now focusing on the bike. It's Elle. Most people know Elle. Really good swimmer. Been through squads over the years. Moved away from swimming for a number of years, and then came back. Swimming, pretty good. Couple of tweaks and just getting that anchor in place. Even though she had the balance, getting the anchor in place and. She was knocking 10 to 15 seconds off a 100-meter time in no time at all, but just focusing on the right things, building the right muscle memory. I think far too much with swimmers, we put them into squads, we push them up and down the pool expecting things to change. Muscle memory doesn't change unless you focus on it. You've got to do the technique work.
And I think that's key here, the muscle memory and the habits. Yeah.
And a big feature on here, you can learn to power yourself through the water by pure muscle alone and defeat the drag, but you can't do it efficiently. I see a lot of swimmers who can swim sub 130, 100 meter, but ask them to swim 2 kilometers. They do it at such a high heart rate, such high intensity. When they move on to the bike and the triathlon, they absolutely shattered. They're in recovery for the first 20 minutes. Where a good swimmer will move through the swim, get on the bike, and they're basically up to full bike intensity almost immediately.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that with us, Paul, and especially showing us the what we can do on dry land, and putting those.
Just going to demonstrate. We're going to demonstrate. I'll demonstrate those actions with the bands and just. Okay, demonstration time. So there's a couple of drills I get my swimmers to do before they get in the pool, particularly the novice swimmers that are where we're trying to get that mind shift, that muscle memory in place. Now, if we do these, try and get this shift in the pool. There's a lot of factors going on as we discussed. So we're trying to get them so they can focus on the actions and build the muscle memory. First one I get them, I ask them to show me where they actually switch their stroke. Most of them will show me that position there, which is wrong. So what I ask them to do is bring their hand opposite their elbow, all right, and then change the stroke to there and reset to there, to there. And then when we get fluid, we can actually make it a continuous movement. And that's the actual swimming action. You can actually see this shoulder move forward as I take the stroke, which gives the stroke power. And it's nice and smooth. What we're doing is we're building the muscle memory and the timing for a good, powerful stroke. See, my fingers are slightly down, my wrists are below my shoulders, and it's that position that we're just trying to actually commit to memory so we can actually then reenact it in the pool. A couple of features of this is hand across from elbow as it enters the water. So when we start the next stroke, shoulder going forward, powers the elbow, and my hips are moving at the same time. And that builds up the muscle memory. Once you start getting the pattern right, by watching what's going on, you can then drop your head and really focus on that timing, right? Making it automatic. And I ask my swimmers, once the early swimmers that haven't got that and are still doing the propeller, I ask them to practice that like 3 times a day over the first couple of weeks to really set it in their mind so they can actually reset in the pool and make it automatic. Once you've actually started getting that pattern, we can start focusing on a little bit more strength work and position work using the using bands. Starting off with a really light band, what we want to do is start building up those muscles that get that arm right down. Now that is an action we just don't do in dry land, and most people have never done it in their life before, so they find it really difficult, and they wouldn't have the muscles to actually support it properly. So we need a little bit of time and strength work to actually do this. Start off really light bands because we really want to focus on the action first, not the strength. All we're doing is the same thing, position, light band, and repeating. Right. New swimmers can actually find this action quite difficult. You see I'm popping out the shoulder so I can get that hand facing behind me really quickly and then shifting it back. Now I'm just extending it now further back and just repeating that action, which is the actual swim action. It's there, it's to there, push it back. There, push it there, push it back. Now we can introduce a little bit of timing, so we get back into that position there, and we actually want to just kick it off and repeat that action, keeping that elbow nice and high and pivoting and getting the timing. Now, once we start doing that, we can drop our head down. And then we really focusing on that elbow. Is it high? Is it moving back? Is the timing right? You do 30 of these as an early swimmer, you'll find your shoulders tightening up. It is quite difficult to hold. Once you actually get a lot of time in the water and a lot of power, that becomes a lot easier and it becomes a natural position. But if you don't do these exercises, it can take a year or so to actually start building up that correct action. This is a shortcut to actually short circuit the brain into the muscle memory and build up that strength from that new position really early, so you can actually progress really quickly. It's really simple. With COVID-19, now's a fine opportunity. You can't get to the pool. You do this at home a couple of times a week. Get into open water and you really focus, keeping that elbow high, nice and wide, keeping that head down and pushing back on the water. You'll be away.